Amy Vernon of SAI, Nathan Latka of Lejour, and Ellen D. Pasquale of Constant Contact. And as the Executive Director of Digital Brand Marketing Education, I will try to fill in if I feel like there's something missing or we want to cover more. So let's get started. Here we go. We have the first question in the back from Michael. I'm going to walk back to it.
Thanks. Who's the representative from Constant Contact? Sorry. So question for you regarding email and social media. Some companies, they see social media now is the killer of email. I actually play with both, so I understand the importance of both. What's your position on that, and what have you seen from other companies as far as using social media along with email, or integrating both?
So thanks so much for that question. We definitely support an integrated marketing strategy with using both email and social media marketing. In fact, this month we launched a new product called Social Campaigns that actually assists with social media marketing. But email's not dead. Who here has checked their email in the last 10 minutes? Okay, everyone. Okay, who's going to check it in the next 10 minutes? Okay, so email's not dead, right? So we carry it around with us. It's in our pocket. It's in our hands. Yeah, we're checking social media and we're tweeting. So they definitely work. Right now they're working really well hand in hand. And typically your email marketing campaigns are going to be much less frequent than your social media. So your email marketing campaigns will have the availability to have more lengthy information in the email, and then you can subsequent that information over the course of time between those emails go out with social media. And of course, you're directing people back and forth. So your email marketing will have all the links to your social media, and in your social media, you should be having people sign up for your email marketing. So they're definitely integrated, and email's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Okay. Other questions? Let's do this unscripted. Okay, I want to turn around real quick. Nathan, you talked a little bit earlier about email being important to Lejour. So just as a follow-up to that question, how do you use Facebook, versus email capture, and where do you see the benefit? And I know you covered a little bit about it. So if you want to just get in a little bit more about how you guys are using email capture inside of Facebook.
Yeah, so for those of you that missed the original presentation, the thing that you want to tell your VAs to use is Facebook registration application for email opt-ins on Facebook. Constant Contact, MailChimp, iContact, GetResponse, all these guys have embed codes that you can drop into the page. The challenge is there is on average users are having to hit about 57 buttons to type in their email and a password they're creating. If you use the Facebook registration application, Jesus. It's
no, it's a cab driver. Not
yeah. It's one click. It's just it pre-fills out the whole form, and they just have to click register to capture email. What we do is we work with an API like iContacts, and we use it as a storage function.
And Constant Contact too.
Is that what I said? No. Constant Contact. Sorry. As an API, because I know you guys have a very robust API. I actually have a question for you, and that's this. When we try and think through the marketplace of where social is going to be, we like to do study groups with high schoolers because that's what the market is eventually going to be. And high schoolers are not using email at all. In fact, there was a college in the Midwest that just recently completely eliminated giving out emails to students because they're using text. So I think there's two things, and I obviously want your feedback on it. Are you going to see a segregation where email marketing is going to be used for just that, email marketing, and then the to-do list items that people traditionally get in an email inbox are going to be used and facilitated through text messaging or third-party applications? What is your feedback there? What do you think the trend's going to be?
Well, we definitely have our eye on what's going on in the future. As I said, I don't believe email marketing is going away anytime soon. But with some of our other products, and the most recent one being with social media, we're certainly moving ahead with being able to help small businesses market in other platforms as well. I don't have a specific direction as far as further out in the future, and quite honestly, a lot of our email campaigns aren't going to high school students. So it's an evolving process, and it'll be definitely interesting to watch.
I'm trying to read one of these tweets. It looks like a question. But Amy, I guess since we've had the other two to weigh in, your thoughts on email versus social media while I figure out this tweet?
I don't think it's a versus at all. First of all, you can't sign up for pretty much any social media account without an email address. Not that it's really difficult to get one, because everybody has free email addresses. But I actually send letters back and forth to friends via email, where we used to actually, remember pen and paper? We used to do that, typewriters maybe. Trash 80, anyone? But seriously, there are still uses for email that I haven't found any replacement for. And I actually just signed up for a friend of mine that has a startup called Unroll Me, and it's a way to manage all your subscriptions that you get via email in your inbox for the user. And it was great because I unsubscribed from 2 or 3 and merged a few together into one email. So I think there's a lot of things like Constant Contact, like Unroll Me, that are here that are helping manage and streamline our email more. But I mean, there's things that you can do in email that no other platform is really geared toward, and the primary one is communication with other people.
Okay, 1 second.
My question's for Nathan. I missed the end part of your talk earlier when you were discussing I guess we'll call it the removal of the Facebook apps and the welcome landing pages. Where do you see, if Facebook were to do that, where does that put you and the future of, I guess, Facebook's platform for business?
So this is a good question. Were any of you up last night at around 11:47 p.m. when Ad Age released that beautiful article? Just raise your hand, anybody? Because there are 2 or 3 people. So they're a PR firm. They get paid when they get a lot of views. So it's very helpful to put out titles that are going to put fear in the minds of people. And the title was something like "Timelines are imminent. Timelines are coming to fan pages," or something like that. And the basic idea, for those of you that are not familiar, is on Facebook you have 2 things: a personal profile and a business fan page. Personal profiles on February 29th will be, all of them that are mandatory will be changed to this timeline format. And the discussion is around Facebook likes consistency. At F8 this year, I'm not sure if it was Cheryl or Mark specifically said they like consistency, and they don't have plans, or they don't know when timeline format would potentially come to pages. The reason it's such a big issue is because currently in timelines, there's no place on your personal profiles, there's no place for you to put custom content. However, big brands, or Craig, who is an author and a speaker, has custom tabs on his Facebook page that Craig probably has even spent ad dollars with Facebook to send traffic to. So this idea of having custom content built inside a Facebook fan page is not going to go anywhere. The idea of having custom content, simply because it's a core piece of Facebook's ecosystem. However, how that looks is completely up in the air right now. And my prediction, if you want to hear something, again, you probably won't hear many other places, is you're going to see brands competing over verbs. And the reason I say that is because if you currently look at timelines, you have applications like RunMeter. Anyone use RunMeter? What RunMeter is that you can put it in your phone and it'll track how far you run each day or walk each day and then auto-post to Facebook. Well, what you're going to see happening is companies like Nike and Adidas are going to be purchasing startups like Runkeeper that own a certain verb, like eating or running or watching or listening or reading. And if they own that verb, they control that space in the timeline. So you're going to see things like Ellen just ran 8.2 miles with Nike, right? Or whatever it is. And again, you're going to see brands really competing for those verbs, I think. I think that's going to be like the next big thing. Netflix is going to be competing with Hulu about who can own watching. You get the websites that try to, like Match.com, that try and connect you. They're going to be competing for the word like making out or something. Like they're going to be competing for these verbs, because if you own the verb, you own the action and you can track the action, you're controlling the whole experience within the Facebook fan page and how it all interacts. That's my prediction.
Nathan, continuing on that thought.
I just got them all wound up.
The verbs have been coming for a while, just like timeline's been coming for a while. The question becomes, and I don't know the answer to this, maybe you do, is Facebook actually selling those verbs in the same way that we have purchased, in the same way that we've purchased domain names, okay, for example, number one. And number two, what does that do to the ecosystem of small and mid-sized businesses? Okay, those people who are not major brands.
And I'm going to ask Amy to follow up on that too, so be ready.
Why don't you start us off? I want to think about this one.
Okay. Well, I think it's really interesting because a lot of the smaller businesses were the ones that really paved the way for business on Facebook, and because all the brands take forever to do anything like that. And then once they come on board, they come on with the full force of their millions and billions in corporate money. What the answer to that will be, I'm not really sure. I think that probably whatever the next innovation is on there will belong to the small business again until big business comes around. And frankly, there's going to be, yes, right now we can't see Facebook ever going away, and it probably is one of those that, like Google, will just continue on for a long time, but there's going to be something else that's going to crop up, and that's going to become the place for small businesses to innovate and to have the upper hand. So if it becomes difficult and untenable for small businesses on Facebook, which it's starting to, big brands have a lot more ad dollars, so Facebook ads have gotten more expensive, and it is turning in favor of major corporations. But that is the way of the capitalist society that we live in, for better or for worse.
Look at it, right? You're going to have an agency conflict here. This is where it's really interesting if you study the SEC filing. Mark is a genius because he has complete control of Facebook. The problem is he's just so genuine. He doesn't care about money. You bring in someone like Sheryl from Google, who is pretty much the person that took Facebook from zero in revenue and 80 million users to almost 4 billion in top line revenues and 800 plus million users. She's the commercialization arm of what Facebook is. And unfortunately, when a company like Facebook IPOs, you then create an agency conflict there, because the shareholders who own Facebook stock want to make more money. If I'm invested in Facebook, I want more return in my pocket for the money. What does Facebook do to make more money? They're going to show you guys more ads, right? Which could potentially detract from the user experience unless it's done very creatively. And they have the creative minds to be able to do this effortlessly. The problem is, or the other side is, Mark is going to obviously be advocating the other way. He doesn't give a shit about investors. He wants to own the world, right? He wants to be the platform that Spotify and all these other social graph applications are building on. So regarding the whole idea of the verbs and what's actually being sold and the commercialization, the business model around Facebook, I think that's going to be the conflict. Regarding the actual verbs that you talked about, selling them like domain names, there's still niche markets there, right? So you're going to see things like national parks competing for the verb exploring, right? Or you're going to see marinas competing for the verb sailing. And you may even see marinas team up with sailboat manufacturers to dually own the verb. There's a thing that's going to be measuring the verb, how impactful it is, how good is that sailboat, and then there's going to be the location that it's actually occurring at, like a marina or the Gulf Coast or things like that. For what that means actually for small businesses is if you're this Dwayne company right outside and I can't see what it's actually doing, let's say it's selling sheets or something.
Drugstore.
It's a drugstore?
Dwayne
Dwayne what?
Reed. Oh,
okay. We don't have those in Blacksburg. But that company is going to have to look a hyper local, right? If you're a company that's, has a brick and mortar location, and figure out what verb can define them. One key thing I want to make sure I make clear, Facebook's not restricting the usage of verbs to one company. It's not like a race of a domain name, who can get it first. Anybody can use it. So there's going to be competition there. Next Super Bowl ads, you're going to be seeing something like from Nike, like download run meter and see how far you can run tomorrow. If all together we get over 7,000 miles run, everyone gets a free pair of Adidas or Nike shoes, right? Because everyone is then posting into their timeline, which reflects on the brand page. Joe, Sam, Veronica, XYZ ran X amount of miles in Adidas. Right? I mean, imagine this. You walk into a Nike store, they give you a free pair of shoes, there's a treadmill there, and in order to get the free pair of shoes, you have to run for an hour, so it posts to your timeline. I mean,
that ain't happening.
That is, when you talk about, quality and things like that, I think you're going to see a trend that way. What do you say?
The question was, how bad is AOL kicking themselves right now?
Bad.
Basil, I also forwarded a couple of questions.
Okay, I'm going to let this one go, and we'll take a look at what's on Twitter.
So Nathan, one more question for you. Sorry. You spoke a little bit earlier about certain professions. So, plumbers, coffee shops, etc., how they can effectively use Facebook campaigns to connect with their customers. Can you talk a little bit about how maybe doctors, dentists, law offices can do the same thing?
So a lot of times, you may remember when you were younger, and I'll admit this as well, I really felt comfortable going to the doctor if I was with my family, right? I wanted my mom there. Like, I was petrified of bending over to get a shot in my ass, right? Now what's happening is I'm on Facebook, and I've already said, yep, Lori Latka is my mom, Ray Latka is my dad, here's my family, here's who I engage with, and they're always on the left side of my screen, right? So I'm comfortable. It feels like they're always with me. The second a doctor takes me away from Facebook to their website that they've completely abused and probably haven't updated, any of these specialized things, legal, doctor, insurance is the worst, real estate, they don't have updated websites, they're spending a lot of marketing dollars trying to take people out of Facebook and drive them to their websites and then trying to sell them something. And what I'm really a proponent of is bringing your experience to where the people feel comfortable. Take your goods and services to their home, which is Facebook. So we've worked with an insurance agent before, and one of the things we did is we actually used a private live stream line where the doctor or the insurance agent could facilitate a consultation through their fan page tab, and the potential patient could ask questions via a comment stream. But it was password protected, so it was private, and he can charge for those consultations. So he can invite his family to the live stream as well, so they can stay up to date. You're seeing parents creating private Facebook groups for the second a child is conceived, they create it and take pictures of how big the stomach is every day and post it to these private groups. And that's one thing Facebook's gonna, I think, potentially have troubles with, is figuring out, I think it's an opportunity, but figuring out how to make Facebook big enough so content is relevant, but small enough so it still feels and it has a large impact, or it still is well relevant.
So a question we have from the live stream, which I give each a chance to hold to, is age-old question: should you be separating your professional and personal lives in social media? Are your personal accounts separate from your business accounts?
I think it depends somewhat, and there's a court case right now. I'm forgetting the details, of course, because I'm up here. About that very reason, that if you create a Twitter account and you're doing it for your business, but it's identified as yourself, who does it really belong to? I think that if it's your own business, it's a little different. However, you may want to tweet certain things that are wholly appropriate for you to tweet on your own personal account, but just are weird, just like a funny photo or, something, your food spotting or your Foursquare or whatever, that's just kind of weird to tweet out or post on Facebook as your business as opposed to yourself. So I feel like there is a separation there. It sort of depends what you do. I mean, for me, there is no separation really, because I work on the internet. I do stuff on, people are like, what do you do? I'm like, stuff on the internet. So basically, like, everything I do is somehow connected to that. So for someone like me, it's different. It doesn't make sense to have a separate account, but I think for a lot of people it does, and it's not to hide and so you can tweet nasty things and say stupid things on your own account. It's just that there's certain things that even on Twitter or Facebook are more appropriate to a personal account than a business account, even if you're very personable and friendly and just more like a person on your business account. It's still a business account. You're still acting as the company.
Ellen, your thoughts?
So I agree that you need to have a personal persona and a professional persona. However, I don't believe that there's a true way to keep your personal persona really personal, no matter what privacy settings you have, because I may have, the gate up as much as I can on my personal account, but I'm a friend of yours and you don't have those privacy, and there's a picture of me and you think it's great and you spread it around, and I've totally lost control over that. So in my opinion, just make sure whatever you're putting, whether it's on your personal or your professional social media, make sure it's not something you don't want to find in 2 years and go, oh no, I can't believe I said that. Right, so be aware of how much you're putting out there on social media. And I really honestly see the privacy settings as being like a 2-foot fence with the deer on the other side. It's like, yeah, right, if I feel like it, I'm jumping over. So you do your best you can, but you really don't have a lot of control of what goes on. So when I'm on social media, I'll converse personally on my personal account and I converse professionally on my professional account, but somewhere down the line I'm going to lose control over how they meld.
I actually, a friend of mine told me a story one time that raises exactly that point. She had sent an email to a friend of hers, and there was nothing really personal or embarrassing in the email, but there was something that she said in there that the friend actually then used in a blog post. And though it wasn't really embarrassing or what, she was kind of taken aback that, here this was something, and to her it was an email, it was private. And the point I raise whenever I tell that story is that if you put it in any form of electronic communication, assume that everybody in the world can see it. I don't care if it's an email, I don't care if it's a voicemail, I don't care what it is. If you put it in any sort of form other than you're speaking in a bug-free room to another person, assume that everybody in the world can and will see it at some point. And my key thing that I always tell people is that they're like, well, how should I do? What can I say? I say, don't be stupid. That's basically like, if you follow that, then you'll be okay. But most people don't. But
I'm just going to put my thought in real quick, and my thought is that there was all this talk about transparency during the last election, and I was laughing the entire time. I was saying, we are forced to be transparent. I think we're in an age now where you're not going to be able to hide who you are, and there's a certain benefit to embracing who you are. I said it during Cloud's presentation, where I said, you may find that you have influence in a spot that you didn't realize, groceries. Who would have thought, right? So there's an opportunity to embrace that. But if there's people out there that are doing the wrong thing, they're going to get discovered. I mean, we talk about how there's a cell phone in every corner, right? The police do something wrong in L.A., New York, or somewhere else, someone's capturing it on a phone. So the separation of the professional and the personal is something that I stopped doing when I left AOL. And I said, look, the bottom line is we all are who we are, and we should embrace that. And so my emphasis for you guys is my note. This is the value that you will bring to a potential employer. So, I said earlier, I think everybody can make money for themselves. Not everybody will choose that path. And if you're looking to the future to when you're going to be applying for a job, I look at it this way. If I'm hiring someone and I have a choice between someone who has 5,000 engaged Twitter followers and 1,000 people on Facebook that are engaged, and someone who has 100, all things being equal, I want the person who has a greater chance of getting my business's brand, message, or opportunity out there. And so I think that there's been a lot of talk about how recruiters use LinkedIn and Twitter to evaluate whether or not you're a good candidate. I think it's just a matter of time before it really becomes, I'm going to hire the person who has the greatest voice, especially if we're talking about sales, right? Because sales have always been about, you know, how many people can this person get in contact with, and someone who has 20,000 Twitter followers and they're engaging 30-40% of them has a really big lead over anybody else who doesn't. So a question that came digitally.
I want to just add
You wanna
on to
follow?
that.
Okay.
So for sales, absolutely, right? Because social media and marketing and sales, that's a benchmark. But for, you know, any other level of employment, even receptionist, if you happen to be out there having a bad experience, and plenty of people are happy to put their bad experiences on social media, and we teach as a business, oh, you know, make sure you stand up to those and you take care of those and customer support. But if I'm saying something negative about an organization, 3 years from now, my resume is sitting in that organization's HR, and they look back at what I said and find that negative comment. And it may have been somewhat innocent because it was just the experience I had. It's still coming back. So it's not exclusively if you're in sales and marketing. You're stating to the world stuff about you. And if you don't want that stuff to come back, then you need to be careful about what you're putting out there, whether it is something about your personal life or something about your professional life.
So I'm going to field a question from the crowd, and then we'll go to the digital question.
This is sort of like a crystal ball question, kind of, but you know, I always look at social media and go, wow, it's so fantastic because it's got XYZ benefits, but then it also has these downsides. So from both a professional and a business standpoint, and I don't know how many years in the future I'm even talking about, but what do you see as like the greatest benefit for both business and professional, and the greatest downfall?
So the problem with Facebook is that it's not real, okay? Really, it's a problem, and here's why. If I really wanted to be on a panel at Basil's event, it might benefit me to spend the month that I'm trying to cater to him taking pictures of myself in front of lavish hotels and yachts and things and creating this perception that I'd like to portray on Facebook.
Are you telling me those weren't real?
No, they were.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Creating a perception. See, the issue with Facebook right now is that people love crafting images of themselves. That's why the retail industry is a $1 billion market. You're creating what image you want to show the world. Facebook lets you do that online. And the problem is 99 times out of 100, it's fake. And the reason it's a huge issue is because if I'm posting these kinds of pictures up on Facebook, they're smart people. They've got great code. They're going to start showing me potential ads for me to buy a yacht. And I'm not going to buy a yacht. I may have pictures of myself in front of yachts because that's how I want to appear, but I'm never going to buy a yacht. So these marketers are spending dollars that then are not turning, and it's false information. What I think you're going to see Facebook do from a business and professional perspective is they're going to try and figure out a way to put humans and products at the same data level. Right now, Facebook's relying on humans to do that, and we're not all that accurate. We have a lot of bias. A lot of things influence us. What I think you're going to see is something Facebook is already working on, which very few people know about, called Facebook Presence. And any of you right now on your tablets or Facebooks or computers can go to facebook.com/presence, and you'll get a clue into what I'm referring to. It started off as a keg stand, and in Facebook, some engineers developed it, and they wanted people to automatically check in, essentially, to the keg stand when they got close to it and poured it. That way, there's no objection. I'm not wanting my people on Facebook to think I'm checking it at Trump Tower so I appear wealthy. I'm actually going into Trump Tower. I'm not staying at the Hotel 8 right beside it just so I can get like a check-in that looks good, right? I'm serious. It's completely messed up right now. What you're seeing, and I think RFID tags or NFC are going to be the answer to this. And the reason I'm thinking RFID tags is because Walmart, if you've spoken with Walmart or you follow their inventory, they're moving away from using barcodes and they're using RFID tags. So now, all of a sudden, you have every single human, Ellen, who has RFID tags, right? You're 178, I'm 931, you're 632. And when I'm walking through the supermarket and I check out products, it's going to know that I just bought a Dole fruit bowl, a Kraft mac and cheese, because they all already have unique RFID tags attached. Now, there's no bias in that. Facebook knows that myself purchased that thing. I'm not acting like I purchased it so that I look good online to my friends. It's actually real. It would know that because our tags have spent the last 30 minutes less than 5 feet apart, that we're not just friends. We're either a degree above or a degree below. It's going to recognize that the tags that you're close to on holidays are probably family. It's going to recognize when you're in a national park, and it's going to know that those friends you're with at that time, they love adventure. So they're going to see adventure products. So I think right now there's still an issue. I'm not sure how it's going to pan out, but what I do think they're going to work towards is figuring out a way to put humans and products at the same data level. Right now they're using humans to connect the gap, and I don't think that's accurate enough for marketers.
I got to throw up the big red flag here.
Soylent Green is people.
I got to throw a big red flag, and actually, I was going to talk about this in my closing remarks, but I'm going to jump ahead on this. If you haven't heard of The Filter Bubble by Eli Perez, or Press, I think is how I say his last name. Is it Perez or Press? Have you guys seen Have you read The Filter Bubble? Okay, this is good. So this is a learning opportunity, right? This is what collaboration is all about, the opportunity for us to each learn from one another. There was a TED, and if you're not familiar with TED, you can look it up and learn about him. And he got up on the stage and he talked for the first time and he said, I want you to really realize the caution. And he's speaking to the engineers at Google, the engineers and the coders at Facebook. He says about this smarter world that we're trying to create, because there's a problem with it if we're not careful, and that is we're starting to filter the information. So during his details, he said Google said that there are 57 distinguishing markers that they use to determine what it is that your search result will show you before you're even logged in. Right? So they know what type of computer you're using, where you're located at. They probably have a general idea of the processing speed, what was looked at last on that computer based on an IP address. And what it does is it's supposed to be making these smarter decisions for you. And what the filter bubble really warned us about was during his use with Facebook, he had found that he is not a conservative. But he was very, very curious about what conservatives were saying on Facebook. So he would start to read those comments more. He would follow those a little bit more, even though he himself was a liberal and really had a lot of liberal friends that he would interact with. Well, Facebook took it as that he was a conservative, and that's what he wanted to read all the time, and started to filter his results and what he was reading on his wall. And what ended up happening was it started to narrow his mindset in the political arena just to conservative comments. And Google has that same problem right now. Google has tried to make a smarter search result for you, but you have to be aware of the danger that we're facing. And the danger is that the beauty of the internet is that there was a massive amount of information for us that could be pushed to us of all sorts of topics and reasons, and that we could have an open mind to be exposed to something new. And some of this current technology provides a real threat that you will end up in a very narrow world because the technology is trying to be smarter, and in reality, it's starting to narrow the path that you're heading down. So if you log into your Google account, you do a Google search, and you're looking for Heidi Klum, and you're a guy and you click on a picture the first time, Google's now starting to turn around and give you results that provide pictures first instead of news articles. Vice versa, if you're into reading news articles, you'll find it harder to get those. If the topic of those articles or the nature of those articles are a specific genre, that's what you're going to start to see first in Google. And now the same thing is happening with the social influence. If someone has +1, a search result, you're now starting to see what other people are. So now you have to really stop and take a moment and think about who it is that you have friended on Google+, or who it is that you're connected to, because they are starting to change the way that you see the world. And I just thought that was something that you guys should really look into based on what we were just talking about. We'll do one more question here, and then we'll take the digital one.
Just a comment on what you were saying. I don't know if any of you have seen the documentary Catfish. Has anyone seen that? Catfish basically talks about this woman who created a family that didn't exist on Facebook, and how this other young man basically fell in love with her daughter and had pretty much a love affair over the internet, head over heels, and a smart kid too. It was a smart kid, graduated from a good school, I think, and you could tell, he's not a weirdo or, somebody who's not in tune with things, and he literally fell into this trap. And this was, of course, some years ago when Facebook was perhaps, or people didn't know as much of Facebook as they do today, but it's the idea that based on what you're talking about now, and marketers will be basing their facts on people that don't exist, and they'll be using that to put dollars into that. So that's also a huge problem. You're creating a virtual world that you can attach the flesh to. So Catfish, anyway, it's a really good documentary. It was on HBO. It's probably going to come back on again. So.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to go to the last question that came in digitally to Twitter. It was originally aimed at Amy, but I want to put it to all of them. But I know what the answer is already, right? I mean, the question is could you guys each just really quick give us an idea of what one of your favorite learning resources is? And I know you're all going to say dbmei.com because that's what digital brand marketing education is all about. But, besides digital brand marketing education, what is one of your favorite learning experiences or opportunities that you found on the web? We can start with Amy.
That's really hard because I kind of go everywhere, and I'm actually one of those people who rarely goes directly to a site. I usually go there based on Facebook or Twitter. It depends. It depends what I'm looking for, really. I don't know. I read VentureBeat, The Next Web, Mashable, TechCrunch. I read all of them. I mean, not, obviously not cover to cover by any means. But I actually get a lot of news from Tumblr these days, too.
Nathan, one of your favorite places to go learn for resources on the web?
Mixerg.com. That's it.
Ellen?
I'd have to say Twitter. I'm probably one of the few people with the people I speak about at Twitter that I scroll. I don't just go there to post. And I do have lists, but when I go to Twitter, I'll scroll down and see what some other people are saying, and I inevitably wind up clicking on a link at least once or twice a day that would bring me to a piece of information that I would probably never have searched on or found any other way.
So I'm going to close it out with this is the purpose of digital brand marketing education. It is not a publication so that way I could hear myself speak. It was designed for me to read, to write, and share. Each one of the publishers are joining me because they want to learn more. That's why they're writing. They're writing so that way they themselves, professionals who are PRs, social media marketers, people that are graphic designers, they're writing so that way they can learn. This is their continuing education program. They're using it to say, okay, Basil's holding us to these standards, and together we're going to hold each other to these standards of we're not just going to write, we're going to cite sources, and we're going to provide information out there with the opportunity for people to correct us if we're wrong so that way we can be better professionals. I think it's a show, not tell. There's a lot of people that tell you what they know. There's an opportunity now with DBMEI for you to go and see what some of the people know and to contribute, join, comment, and do other things. So it was a nice ending question. Just a round of applause for the panel.